God wants you in the driver's seat and he wants you to put the car into park. Put your hands on the wheel and relax, and then let him put his hands over yours and steer. That's the best way to co-create. It's the best way to let go and then let God. We're going to enjoy the scenery. Sometimes you've got to slow down before you can speed up. But in those periods of slowdown, first of all, there's rest and recovery, but there's also beautiful scenery that if you are at full tilt all the time, you're going to miss it. Hey there, prosperity seeker. Welcome to the Prosperity Approach. I am so happy you found me and so happy that you've joined me for today's episode. Before we get into the content for today, though, I just want to remind you, if you're listening to the audio version of this episode, be sure that you're following this podcast on your favorite app. And if you're watching this on YouTube right now, be sure to click that red subscribe button below and click the notification bell so you get notified every time a new episode is released. So I want to talk about the really catchy phrase, let go and let God. And what does that mean? And how do you do it so that it actually works? And is it important that you do this as an ambitious, God-centered, or spiritually minded woman that you are, wanting to get to that next level of success in all areas of your life without having to claw your way to that next level? Is it possible? Yes. Is it necessary? Oh, well, for sure. If you don't want to struggle your way to that next level of success. Do most of us know how to do this? Unfortunately not. So I really want to just unpack this whole concept to let you know what it actually looks like, how to do it so that you're really so that it works, so that you feel really confident in it, and all the things. So what does let go and let God mean? I think we have a big misconception of this. I think we think that if we're letting go of the outcome, then we just take our hands off the wheel and we don't do anything and let God come in and rescue us. Now, let me say this. Do I believe that God is an 11th hour God? Yes, 100% God is an 11th hour God. He's also a 11 hour, 59 minutes kind of a God, but he's also a 2nd hour God, and he's a 5th hour God, and he's a 3rd hour God and an 8th hour God. He's there to help us all the time. And he wants to. That's the thing. He wants to. He is ready and willing and able to pour down blessings upon you in such a fast and enormous way that you can't even hold all of the blessings he has. But his hands get tied when we're not open to receiving, when we have a whole lot of mind chatter going on, when we're filled with fear and doubt and uncertainty, when we feel like we're cut off from our source. We really, really limit God's ability to show his power to us in our lives when we're running programs like this, and when our thoughts are thoughts of fear and thoughts of failure and thoughts of, one of my dearest, closest friends, Laurel Houston, likes to call it death and dismemberment. When our thoughts are filled with death and dismemberment, it's really hard for God to get in there and really show us his power through every part of our life. So most of the time when we hear this, let go, let God, we're just like, okay, I'm not going to do anything. And that's not what it is. That usually leads to what one of my former mentors used to call a spiritual bypass. Letting go is not a spiritual bypass. Letting go of the outcome isn't a spiritual bypass, but most of the time we behave as if it is. So what is a spiritual bypass anyway? A spiritual bypass happens when we don't think that we can actually get what we want. So we say, okay, well, I'm just going to let go of all of this. And if God wants me to have it, and if it's meant to be, then it will be. And we don't take any inspired action toward it. We're like, okay, I'm receiving. Why hasn't it come yet? Oh, well, I guess it wasn't supposed to happen. I guess it's not meant to be. That's a spiritual bypass. It's like dropping our part of the co-creation process and just being like, I'm just going to let God bring it to me. Now, there are times when, yes, God wants to bring it to you. But here's the thing. God wants to teach you how to create. He wants you to be a co-creator with him instead of just he's not your butler, right? He's not the great butler in the sky where you just ring the little bell and he just says, you rang and at your service, ma'am. He wants to co-create with you. He's also not a big menu in the sky. He's not your genie in the sky. He wants you to tap into your enormous power and your enormous potential that you have here in a physical body while you are on this earth. And so there are important pieces of co-creation that we need to let go of, like the how. We need to let go of the how because that is not our piece of this puzzle. That's God's piece of the puzzle, and he delivers the hows as you go. The when, it also needs to be let go of. You're not in charge of when, you're not in charge of how. You're in charge of what you want and why you want it. So when you will let go of when's it going to come, when's it going to come, when's it going to come. And by the way, you can still be holding on to the when, even when you're in inspired action. I see this with my clients all the time, and it leads to a great amount of frustration, so much uncertainty, and a lack of faith and trust in their higher power that there's stuff going on behind the scenes that they can't see, but God is fully engaged in this whole co-creative process. And so this is what it looks like when you're not letting go and letting God, even when you're in inspired action. When you are in this, all right, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm following the nudges, I'm meditating every day, I'm getting those hits, I'm writing them down, I'm following those. Why isn't it here yet? Why isn't it here yet? Am I not doing enough? Am I not doing enough? That is somebody with a death grip on when is this going to come. That's not letting go. So the letting go is first understanding that you're really not in a race. This is a whole process, and this is a journey that is meant for you to enjoy. And when you'll let go of things that aren't your business to be holding on to, which is the when and the how, and enjoy the unfolding of it, that's what we do. That's how you let go. You stay present. You enjoy the unfolding. Oh, where does this take me? Where is that going to take me? I call it pulling on the thread. There's this invisible piece of thread. Sometimes it's not invisible, but have you ever had a piece of thread or string or whatever hanging off your shirt? So you pull on it, right? Because you want to see where it's going to go. Sometimes it unravels the whole hem. Other times it leads to a dead end that you can break it off or whatever it is. But instead of this thread better lead me there, it's just this idea of curiosity. Oh, well, this was placed in front of me. Let's just yank on this a little bit and follow where the thread goes. So just pull the thread. Just let's see where the thread goes. That's allowing the unfolding and just enjoying the unfolding. Too often when we've got a death grip on when are our dreams going to be here and how are they going to come, we tend to micromanage the whole journey. So we're second guessing all of the nudges that we get. We're in this state of, is this enough? Have I done enough? Oh no, what if I just missed this tiny little piece and I've just shot the whole thing to crap, right? We got to get out of that. We got to get out of that. I had a former mentor who used to say, don't try to pull open the flower. All right, don't force the bloom. Let the flower bloom on its own time. That part of the whole joy of leading with your feminine is letting the universe and God surprise you as you go with the unfolding, because there are delightful surprises all along the way, but you have to let go and just be willing to be part of the journey. You're in the driver's seat, but sometimes you got to let go of the wheel a little bit, or at least let go of the death grip on the wheel. Have you ever driven in a terrible snowstorm or a terrible rainstorm before and you can't hardly see what's in front of you? What are you doing with the steering wheel the whole time? You're white knuckling it, right? And you are tense in your shoulders, in your neck, in your back. By the time you get to safety, you're worn out, you've been going on adrenaline, you're stiff, you're sore, all of those things, and you're safe. And that's good. And there are times when we need to white knuckle it. We need to slow down when we're in those kinds of extreme conditions and we're driving a car. But most of the time when we're going along life's journey and we're like, ooh, I want to get to that next level of success, we tend to white knuckle it that time as well. We're like, what if I make a wrong move and then everything unravels? What if I take a risk and the risk doesn't work out? And then you're not letting go. You're getting tighter and tighter on that wheel. And in fact, not only are you lifting off the gas, metaphorically speaking, but you're also pushing on the brake, and eventually you just put it in park and you won't even get into gear to go. That's how powerful we are if we listen to the fears and the what ifs and then we obey them. So we got to let go of all of that. And then we got to let God do his part and show us the way and show us how powerful he really is in making connections, in letting it be easy. Like your journey gets to be filled with joy. It gets to be filled with surprise and delight and wonderment and awe. And it also gets to be filled with stretch and with periods of discomfort and with periods of fear. Sure. It can be filled with periods of fear. That's part of it. But are you going to obey what the fear tells you to do? Or are you going to be like, I'm actually going to do the exact opposite of what you're telling me because you're screaming death and dismemberment at me right now. And all I'm thinking about doing right now is hiring somebody else to help me in my business, right? Or I'm really just wanting to plan a special dinner out that's going to be a couple $100 and you're screaming death and dismemberment at me, right? Like it's really interesting when you get into that higher level of awareness that it's like the fear is just, it's not logical. It's kind of ridiculous and mostly ridiculous most of the time. But the fear doesn't want you to let go. It wants you to continue to white knuckle that steering wheel and put your car into park and then claim, well, God didn't want me to do it, so I guess it wasn't meant to be. Or God didn't get in there and help me, and so he didn't immediately show me the way and bring all the connections and with me not having to work for it. So it must not be meant to be. That's a spiritual bypass. God wants you in the driver's seat. And he wants you to put the car into park. Put your hands on the wheel and relax, and then let him put his hands over yours and steer. That's the best way. That's the best way to co-create. It's the best way to let go and then let God. We're going to enjoy the scenery. Sometimes you've got to slow down before you can speed up. But in those periods of slowdown, first of all, they're rest and recovery. But there's also beautiful scenery that if you are at full tilt all the time, you're going to miss it. And then you miss the whole point of the journey, because the journey, like that's the whole point, is taking the journey. If the whole point about dancing were to get from this corner of the dance floor to the opposite corner of the dance floor, all you do is take one great big flying leap to get there. But that's not the point of the dance. The point of the dance is to twirl and to spin and to be lifted and to do fancy, complicated footwork sometimes, and then have those other times where the footwork is really simple and it's slowed down so that you can have that rest and recovery, enough for a burst of energy so that you leap across that room. It's about the dance. It's about the flips, and it's about the turns and the twirls and all of that. If the symphony were about the last note, it would just be and then it would be done. But it's about the swells of the music. It's about the fast passages and the slow passages and the moments of silence sometimes during that symphony where you can just be in the symphony. And God wants you to be in the process. He wants you to let go of when and let go of how and let him guide you. And let him show you the surprises along the way. Wallace Wattles, in his amazing book, The Science of Getting Rich, says, feel the faith and let it work out. Feel the faith and let it work out. I'm going to say it one more time. Feel the faith and let it work out. Instead of trying to make it work out, just let it work out. This universe is mathematically and divinely designed to support you in your dreams and your desires, and also to support you in every moment that you breathe, in every moment of your existence. It's what it's divinely designed to do. So letting go and letting God really is feeling the faith. Leslie Householder was the one who taught me this little phrase: faith is truth spoken in advance. That's what faith is. It's picturing what it is you want, feeling how you expect to feel when it's here. Feel the faith. What's that emotion that you're after? Feel that emotion as often as you can throughout the day. Smile, breathe deeply, say yes, thank you, and then follow those tiny little ideas and those big ideas that come. Let it work out. Now, there are some times that there are things we really want that just aren't in our plan. There are some things that aren't meant to be in our plan. All right. God is always working for everyone's highest good and greatest good. And there are times when we'll make choices. And here's the thing, like, agency is a thing. It's a real thing. God's not going to force you to do anything. God won't even force you to believe in him. God won't force you to do or not do anything. And so, like, we get to make choices that can lead to some trouble. And we've all made choices out of ignorance, out of misinformation, out of being deceived. I mean, we've all made choices that have led to dead ends and have led to pain. And there's always a way out of them. First of all, if you're fully engaged in let go and let God, then you've got your car into gear, you're moving forward. And you are following those nudges and you're following the desires of your heart and you're trusting in those. But there are some ways that are better for you than others. And so I have this faith in this trust that I'm not going to get too far down the wrong path without God giving me some pretty clear signals that there's a better way to do it or that I'm going down the wrong path. Now, God is not a God of fear, so he's not going to fill you with fear or doubt or uncertainty or terror or any of that. You'll feel unsettled. You'll feel like something's off. You'll feel like you're not aligned with something. And sometimes it's very quiet, but it's kind of like having a tiny, tiny piece of dirt clod in your shoe. You'll move your foot around, but you can still feel that it's there. Until you take off the shoe and you dump the dirt clod out and then you put your shoe back on and get on with your way. So trust that you're not going to get too far down the wrong road without God letting you know you're down the wrong road. There are lots of different paths to our destination. I want the shortest, fastest, most pleasurable path to my destination. So that's my intention. And some paths that I really want to take, God knows aren't in my highest interest. And so doors will close and they'll close really quickly. And when you feel yourself like forcing and trying to make it happen, this is where you get to let go of that particular pathway and then let God show you a different one that's going to be better for you and everyone else anyway. And that takes some trust. Trust is confidence and the firm belief in the reliability of something or someone. That's the meaning of trust. And so if doors keep closing, and I actually ask for that, if this is not the path for me to take, then please make it glaringly obvious. And God knows that I'm pretty slow on the uptake most of the time. There are times when it, takes a bit to get into my noggin. And so I'm like, any way that's going to make it really obvious to me, please make it so obvious that this is not the right path for me to take. Close doors, and make it really obvious. Help me be aware of when I'm trying to force something or when I'm in the energy of making something happen, because that is neither letting go nor is it letting God. And so when you're in that kind of awareness and then you're like, all right, I'll let you course correct me. For sure, let's do this co-creation thing together and let's get on the next level here. I'm going to stop arguing against what I think is right. I'm going to let you, God, my higher power, my source, guide me through all of this. Another thing that I really recommend in letting go and letting God is starting with God first. Another mentor, she's like, we tend to do all we can, and then at the very last resort, we use God. And she was like, how much sense does that make anyway? Like, he's the most powerful being in the multiverse and we use him last. Like, we go to him as a last resort. Please help me, God. Please save me. And I was like, holy cow, I've been a praying girl my entire life. I've gone to church my entire life. I know about prayer. I know how powerful God is. I've seen his hand in my life. I've seen him work miracles in my life. I see him every day in my life. And how often do I go to him to prayer for help last? Oh my goodness, it was such a beautiful wake-up call. Go to him first for help. Let him know your desires. Your desires were placed there by him anyway. He's not surprised by any of that. And then ask for that guidance and let him be your partner right at the very start rather than at the very end when you've made a mess of things or you've tied yourself into knots and you don't know how to undo the knots. But release your death grip. You must release your death grip. I used to think that it was kind of a consolation prize that people would say, oh, well, if this doesn't work out, then it just means that something better's on its way. And I felt like I was kind of being patronized and patted on the head and swatted on the butt and off you go, little 6-year-old girl. Something better is coming for you. It's okay that I didn't give you this. And I didn't like that for a long time. And then I changed my perspective to really believing that if I have done my part and only my part, I have felt the faith and I have let it work out, which means I am continually thinking about what it is I desire on that next level of health and relationships and spirituality and finances and success. What is that next level for me in all those cornerstones of my life? And I continue to look to that. And I let my desires guide me. And I let my feminine lead out when I'm doing my part and enjoying the journey and following those nudges. And if it falls apart, then literally what that means is God has something better in mind. Really, he does. He's ready to show out in my life. And when I've done my part and I haven't done God's part, and that has happened. And by the way, it has happened more than once for sure. But I've realized if this doesn't work, then something better will come along. It really, really will. When you get this little catchphrase, let go and let God down, it allows you to make mistakes. It allows you to move forward without really knowing what you're doing and certainly without knowing the outcome. You have your idea of how you'd like it to work out. You allow yourself to stumble and trip and embarrass yourself. And I know I'm not painting a really elegant picture, but it's always awkward before it's elegant. But you allow yourself to do that. You allow yourself to take imperfect action as you go, because God's going to pick up those missing pieces. He's going to pick up where you drop things because he knows you're flawed. He's worked with flawed humans since the dawn of time, minus one person, and that was his only begotten son. So he knows who he's working with and he knows what he's got to work with, and it's enough. It's enough to bring you the dreams you don't even know to dream yet. He's going to bless you with things you don't even know to ask for yet. When you will let go and just do your part and let God do his. Just keep moving forward with one imperfect step at a time, maybe a stumble at a time, until you really start getting your footing, and then you start learning the dance. And the dance is really, really fun. If you have enjoyed this conversation and you're thinking, oh, you know what? I want that next level of success to come without struggle. And I know what you're talking about, but I don't quite have it yet. I don't quite know how to do this yet. And there's still some missing pieces and we want to bridge that gap. I have a whole team who would love to connect with you. Team Prosperity, it's their favorite thing to do is to connect with my audience to see what's going on in their lives and to see if maybe we can help close that gap. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the link in the show notes, which is going to lead you to a short application to fill out for a free connect call with one of my team members. They are absolutely extraordinary. And really what we're here to do is serve. And we are happy to serve you at whatever level you are willing for us to serve you. So let's see what's going on. Let's see where some gaps are. And let's see if maybe we can help you close some of those gaps. So click on the link below, connect with one of my team members. And until next time, remember, prosperity becomes you.